All right. We're going to talk today about shading because I still have your 2-point perspective cities. And after we learn to do this here, you're going to do it on your city and you're going to use color pencils. Okay? What's the first thing I need to know before I start shading? Noah? Well, the perspective points are labeled here, A and B. But what's the most important thing I need to know, Nick?
Where the light's coming from.
Where the light is coming from. So where do you want the light to come from?
Over this side.
This side or that? Actually, I have more room on this side. So if there's a sun, and I'm just gonna put a sun right there. If there's a sun coming from that side, and I know it, one thing that I do to help me is I draw very, very light lines. You don't have to use a ruler. You can just wing it. Why do you think I'm drawing these lines?
Because the sun rays.
Because that's where the sun rays would hit, right? Just light enough that I can see them. Let's do an easy one first. This building right here. Which side of this building is going to be lighter and which side is going to be darker?
The one that's facing the sun is going to be lighter.
Okay, and this one is actually facing the sun more than that one, right? So I'm going to shade this one with my pencil very lightly.
Did you do this?
Yes, please do it at your seat. This is the one where the sun's going to hit the side. And remember how we used our finger sometimes? Sometimes I smudge it a little bit to make it look smoother. And I'm going to leave my windows alone for right now. Now if this side is as light as I can get it, what does that mean for this side?
It has to be darker.
It needs to be darker. It needs to be noticeably darker, right? So I'm going to push a little harder. And I need to make it nice and crisp right up against the corner to make it look like it's 3D. Bless you.
Wait, that side needs to be darker.
Yes, because the sun's not hitting it.
Can I get?
And especially right at the corner. It needs to be a nice, crisp corner, not jaggedy or raggedy. Now if I were doing this with a color pencil and I wanted to use the same color for both sides, I would do the same thing that I'm doing with this pencil. I would do it very lightly on this side and I would simply push harder on this side. So does that make it look a little more 3D?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go flood the sidewalk after this because one feels a little different with the shadow going to the sun.
grass and the sidewalk would be darker on this side and lighter on that side. Same.
I don't understand how the sidewalk is.
Well, actually, when I do sidewalks, here's how I do them. I'm not thinking too much about the sun right now. I'm going to do them all the same. And what I do is I make a darker line here and here. And I do the same thing on each one. And then I do this. I smear it. Then I do the same thing over here. Even though I know they're going to be darker, I do it the same way, and then I go back and I make the one that should be darker, darker. All you have to do is go one side and down the other, and then do that. Which is a very easy way to do it. Then I know that this side should be darker. So I'm going to put a little darkness over this whole sidewalk. So it does look darker on that side. If you wanted the sidewalk over here to look lighter, you take your eraser and lighten up the centers of it. What about the parking lot lines? Are they going to be lighter or darker? They're going to be darker because the building is here and is blocking the sun's rays. Yes, sir.
Maybe darker because it would be on the pavement.
It is on the pavement,
So
but if I were going to do it yellow like parking lot lines, these would be lighter yellow because the sun's hitting here, and these would be darker yellow. So I'm going to make my parking lot lines dark. Am I going too fast? A little bit maybe.
Face all the way on the right. Won't the sun be hitting that one?
It would, so you could lighten it up. It depends, because if there's another building in front of it that blocks it, then it wouldn't be. Now, for the windows, if you're doing your project in color pencil, what you're seeing, if you put your walls and things in the windows, you would choose colors for your walls and color them in. If you just want them to be windows that you can't see through, it's a lot like the sidewalk. Do a corner and sort of down one side. Or some people do the lines like that. Now, if you remember your atmospheric perspective, what things are darkest?
Things that are closer.
Things that are closer to you. So things that are further away are lighter, right? What does that mean for the road? It means it's going to be the darkest here, right? And then as it goes back, sorry, it's going to be darker here. And as it goes back, it's going to get lighter and lighter. And sometimes if it's too dark, you can just use your eraser and lighten it up a little bit. And it will be dark under the truck right here a little bit. But it's darker the closer it is toward you. And that's atmospheric perspective. And that would be for anything. Buildings that are closer to you would be darker. Remember, it was the mountain ranges. We talked about the closest mountain range is darker, and then as they go back, they get lighter and less detailed. Let's work on the truck for a minute.
There's no one riding it.
I know. What's going to be the lightest part of this truck?
The bed.
Do you think?
Wouldn't it be in the back?
Inside the bed.
Here's the light. It's going to hit here first, right?
Inside.
The bed, this is blocking it. The bed would be lighter here, but it would be darker here because the light's being blocked. The very lightest part is going to be the top of the cab because the light's going to be bearing right down on top of it. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So the wheels would be darkest.
The wheels would be darkest, and they're usually sort of black anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I know my wheels are square right here, but it's also a little darker under the truck. If the top of the cab is the lightest, and there's usually a window back here, right? The hood isn't going to be dark and it's not going to be light. It'll be sort of medium. So I'm going to do it in a sort of medium gray. The side of the truck is going to be lighter, but the sun's not hitting it directly. The headlights look lighter regardless usually. If they were on, you would do the beams, pull them out with your eraser, and have beams coming out of your headlights. The grill part would actually be darker than the hood, so you just need to make sure it's probably darker than the hood, but not quite as dark as the tires. And if you want things to look 3D, they need to be crisp at the corners. Now what about the tailgate? Is it going to be dark or light?
Dark.
It's going to be dark because the sun's going to hit the outside of it where we can't see it, and it's going to block the light, so it's going to be darker. What about the side right here?
Medium. Because the sun.
It's going to be darker here in the corner, but then as it comes down, it's going to get lighter because the sun rays are going to climb into the truck, right? The sun rays won't hit here, but they will eventually start to lighten up as they come down. The inside of the truck, it depends. If you draw seats inside, you would do them a little darker. But there's a light, there's a window back here that would let some light in. So you could do them like the windows that we did here. And just have some lines here. Give a little hint of shade there. And the top part doesn't look right all the way white. So I'm going to do it sort of like the sidewalk. I'm going to give a little hint going across and down one side. And then I'm going to give it a little smudge. Yes, ma'am. No, it's fine. Now, if you were going to shade the sky blue, how does atmospheric perspective affect that? Where is it going to be lighter? Here's the horizon line. What happens to the sky as it comes up this way? It gets darker because it gets deeper into space. So it's actually going to be lighter at the horizon line, and then as it goes up, and if you're using blue, you would gradually get a little darker. Now I'm not talking like dark. I'm talking about going from light to maybe medium without it looking like you've made stripes on it. So if you're going to use your blue color pencil or a combination of blues and purples or whatever, it's going to be lighter at the horizon line and it's going to get darker as you go up. Is there a problem, Mr. Barnhart? No. Fisher? You doing okay?
Yeah.
Lighter at the horizon line, and it's going to get darker as it goes up. Now if you want your sun in there, you can use your eraser and bring it out a little bit. Your eraser's really handy for bringing out reflections. That's why it's easier to use a wooden pencil, because mechanical pencils you can't turn on their side and do this. And when you do a sky, it's very helpful to go horizontal the whole time. If you do it one way and then you do vertical another way, it looks like somebody's put the sky together like puzzle pieces. can you see it's lighter at the horizon line and darker as it goes up? And that makes your sky look deep, which it is. Sometimes when I'm planning, and you may want to do this for your project when you color it in, if I know the sun's going to hit this side, I put an L for lighter on that side, and I'll put a D for darker on that side. And, you know, for this building, though, what's going to happen?
It's gonna be this perfect.
What happened?
It's all gonna be dark as black.
Okay, this building's blocking the sun, right? Which would be the darkest if you had to choose which side? This one, right? Because it's up against this building and this is blocked. So I'm actually going to put an M for medium there and a D for dark on that side. Now, what about this one? I only see the front.
Well, it's gonna be like,
Maybe darker at the bottom.
Would it be darker at the bottom? Or would it be lighter here and get darker that way? The sun's coming this way.
It gets
It's
darker
gonna
as
go,
it goes
bottom's gonna
down.
be dark and it's gonna get lighter.
Because this is blocking it, right? Good. So it's going to be darker here, and then I'll draw an arrow, and it's going to go to light, from dark to light. This was supposed to be a pool, this square right here. It's empty, there's no water in it. Which side of the two sides here is going to be lighter?
The one that's closer to A.
That
To
one?
this one, because this one, is it going to get any light at all? No, and if it does at all, it would be right at the top. This is going to be darker. Now, is this going to be bright light?
No, it's going to be
No,
medium.
it'll be medium. Now, what about this one? The sun's hitting the top of it.
It's gonna make it light.
This is going to be light, right? But what about the edges? Excuse me. This is going to be dark. This one's probably going to be medium. What about this side? Dark, because it's being blocked by the sun. Now on the inside, what I usually do is this part's going to be darker because the road is darker here and it's going to get lighter as it goes back. But it's going to be even darker in this little section because it's inside of a building. Now if the light's on in there, this side could be lighter. Do you know what I mean? I don't think there'd be a building there without some sort of light in it. So if this is dark, I'm either going to make this medium or light. Yeah, that's what I would do too. For this building, this is the light part because the sun is hitting it, although, is this going to block it?
No.
No? Okay. And this one, I would go medium. Now, here's the sun and coming down this way where this building is. So what's going to happen?
Beside that, you can see the light rays go onto it.
Right, the light's going to hit it here, right? So it's going to be light, but I think it's going to get just a tiny bit darker as it goes down toward the ground. What about this side?
Medium.
Medium. Now, we've already talked about the roads. The roads are going to be darker, closer to us, and lighter as they go back. The grass is also going to be, if this were grass, it would be darker here, and then as it goes back, it would get lighter. Yes, ma'am?
Is there any like texture on the grass, or you just?
That's a good question. You can, and you can put texture on the buildings too if you want. I have a packet for you that will show you how to do trees and bushes and things like that. Do you have any questions about how you would plant? Oh, did we do this one? No. What about this one?
That's dark.
I think it's going to be dark here. But the light's hitting at the top. This is going to be light, and it's going to go to medium here. What about this? Dark. Then what about this one?
Medium.
I think it's going to go medium to a little bit lighter there.
What about the roof on the one on the other side?
This roof,
Yeah.
what do you think? Here's the sun.
It'll go from medium to light.
Okay, is it going to be medium here and go light
Yeah.
this way
Yeah.
because of the sun
Wait,
rays?
what's that one wall?
This one,
Yeah.
it's medium.
And then what's this one?
Light.
What about that little like ledge right there on this one?
This one,
Yeah.
what do you think?
That's a
Sun's
lot.
rays are coming this way.
Maybe like medium to light.
I would almost go, yeah, medium to light this way
Yeah.
because of how the sun is coming. You guys are pretty good at this. You sort of have to, bless you, you have to be able to picture it in your mind where the sun's coming and what that means.